Will Sasso has been funny for a long time, and I'm hoping, as I say that he doesn't turn out to have some kind of secret predatory issue that comes out down the road. But as far as I know, he's just funny, not grabby or groomy.
Yeah, I started off with William, probably because my mom doesn't like Will.
He was the world champion, in my opinion, on Vine, the short video social media thing that happened long before TikTok.
I don't even know where Baniac lives.
Make a left on Citrus Avenue, brother. Citrus.
I also enjoyed his podcast, 10-Minute Podcast, he did with Brian Callen and Chris D'Elia until credible accusations came out about both Callen and D'Elia. Neither man has been convicted of sexual assault at this time. Sasso, to my knowledge, has not been accused. When the 10-Minute Podcast ended, Sasso started a new podcast with Chad Kultgen called Dudesy.
It's a podcast.
Yeah.
It's a YouTube show.
It's kind of a first of its kind media experiment, but that's all we need
because
to
it's
let
made
them know,
entirely
right?
by an
Okay,
AI.
it's just going to be a fun hang.
Kultgen is a writer with a strong track record of films and books in his credits. In particular, I thought Burt Wonderstone was a great idea for a film. For some reason, Sasso and Kultgen decided to start their new podcast with a supposedly AI host named Dudesy. The conceit of the pod is that Sasso and Kultgen were contacted by some people somehow involved with AI research and introduced to the AI named Dudesy, who wanted them to participate in an experiment. Sasso and Kultgen claim to have given the AI access to all their data and communications so that it can host a podcast with them using that information.
So we have an artificial intelligence that's basically going to tell us kind of what to do and build this show around us.
And you know, I view that idea as just basically showmanship. I mean, I wasn't able to get into it, but again, I think Sasso's hilarious, so I can see how people would like it. Last year, in 2023, the podcast released a comedy special starring a supposedly AI-generated Tom Brady.
She said, "You look just like Tom Brady." And I said, "I am Tom Brady." She said, "Prove it." So I went to her house and let a little air out of all of her footballs.
They eventually had to take it down under threat from Brady's lawyers, but it has been reposted to YouTube. You know, maybe Brady's lawyers decided not to push it. Whatever the case, it seems the Dudesy podcast survived that skirmish. In 2024, they released another AI comedy special, this time using the voice and name of George Carlin.
I'm sorry it took me so long to come out with new material, but I do have a pretty good excuse. I was dead.
Carlin's estate took offense, the situation went to court, and Dudesy has now agreed to take down the special, though, again, it is still findable here on YouTube. I think there is a point here to be made about AI and what it will do to the future of performance and writing, but weirdly, Kultgen and Sasso are not making that point. They claim that the Tom Brady idea was a parody, and by the definition of parody, I think that's accurate, but why? Now, granted, if they had a point, it would be satire in addition to a parody, and they don't appear to be claiming it's satire, so they're not claiming there is a point, but still. Can you make audio that sounds like Tom Brady saying the word butthole with an odd AI-type pause in the middle of the word?
Butthole?
Yes, you can. Okay. Can you write a George Carlin type special that uses AI to sound like George Carlin's voice?
Come to think of it, that sounds a lot like heaven, don't it?
Yes. But why do that? It seems to me like the answers to those questions are because it attracts attention for Sasso and Kultgen, which, in my view, feels kind of cheap. Now, there's nothing wrong with two friends having a silly idea and being weird about it together, but at the same time, Sasso and Kultgen are not just random friends. They are industry pros. So to see them pursue something like this, to me, feels a little bit like Bobby Flay and Dave Chang opening an AI-designed synthetic lemonade stand dedicated to Anthony Bourdain. Like, okay, you could do that, but why? Don't y'all have something else you could be working on? George Carlin's estate and the Dudesy podcast have settled over their use of his name and whatnot. The Dudesy team has agreed to stop infringing on the Carlin estate's intellectual property. Now, I'm not a lawyer or judge, and I don't know how these things go, but I think Sasso and Kultgen got off very light. Now, whether that's because they were super apologetic or because the Carlin estate somehow understood what they were trying to do philosophically but still couldn't let them continue to do it, I have no idea. I think there's room to use this kind of approach to help people understand AI. Is it taking over menial tasks so that you have time for art? No. It's infringing on copyright on existing art, so artists' work is valueless. For Dudesy to be doing what it's doing but not addressing that danger head on, to me, feels like referencing the elephant in the room, but instead of squaring up to that elephant, just giving it a silly party hat. Okay, we get it. Silly party hat. But why?
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, like and subscribe, and maybe jump on the Patreon if you want to help me make more. And if you want to talk about comedy writing with people who are trying to do it in a constructive way, we also have a Discord channel.